G'day troopers and hola amigos. I want to get another motorcycle, and to do that I need to get some money. To get some money I need to get a job. Also my wife is on my back about me not looking for work, so here I am looking for work and doing YouTube videos. This is not a motorcycle video. This video is about Python and Beautiful Soup and how to scrape web pages. Indeed is a nice website. It's got quite a lot of work around here. As you can see, there's work, 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 work. Some work I'm just not interested in, like say Spotlight. That's a curtain place, I believe, and I certainly wouldn't want to work there. Earlville is a little bit far from me, so I don't want to do that. Some jobs I'm just not qualified for, so housing officer, I'm sure you'd have to have some sort of cert there. So I want to narrow down my search and get a nice list with URLs so I can just click on them and go straight to the employer's website, submit my CV, cover letter, and hope for the best. Now, we've landed on the front page here. As you can see, there's many pages there. Let's just see what happens if we go to page number 2, and the URL should change somehow. And I believe this is the variable here that changes. So if I was to change that to 20, I think they'll take us to page number 3. And if we scroll down, we are at page number 3. So that leads me to believe that this variable here, this number here, actually controls which page you're looking at. So I'll grab that URL, copy it, and I'll set up my Python SDK and start working on my bot to start scraping this website. The packages that you need for this are requests and Beautiful Soup. What request does is basically request the contents of a web page. So if I paste my link in there, I'll change my starting position to 0, so I know I'm looking at the front or the first page of that website. It stores the response in this variable, which is an object. I can actually see the property of that response and I'll store in a value called n. I can actually print n, and they'll bring back a HTML version of that website. So there it is. There, it's got all the data that your browser actually sees. It doesn't interpret the JavaScript because it's a raw call, but it's got data that we are interested in. So I know there's a job called member. There you go, team member. So it's got actually all the data you need. All you need to do now is just somehow get it out. And that's where Beautiful Soup comes in, because that's a class, and once you pass your response into it, it will create an object that you can play with down the track. At our job site, you can see that all these entries, all these jobs are the same. They have the same structure, just different data inside every box or whatever it is. I don't really care. I'm just interested in these job titles. The hyperlinks, I know that because when I hover over them, they get underlined. If I right click, I can actually inspect that element. I'm using Chrome, but most browsers will allow you to do the same. And I can see that, as I suspected, it's a hyperlink, which is a HTML tag. There's the link there. And there's a whole lot of CSS and other data in there. So the trick here is, what you want to do is find a unique way that identifies all of these rows. So the A tag will be 1. The ID, I suspect, is unique to that job. And I know IDs are unique per page, so there'll be one reference in this ID on this whole page. So I can't use that. A tag, and what seems to me, the JCS job title, I reckon that might be a nice class to uniquely identify all of these elements. So what I'll do is I'll get Soup or Beautiful Soup to actually return A tags with this class. So back in our SDK, what I'll do is I'll pull out the first A tag out of that page. My A tags, I'll call them A tags because I'm going to be getting more of them, but for the time being, let's just find the first one. It's an A tag of a class. Boom. Let's just print it. Print my A tags. See what happens. It should pull out the first A tag it finds with that class. And there it is. That's A tag. There's the class we're looking for. There's the hyperlink. Notice it doesn't have the qualifier for the website, so it's a relative hyperlink. And there's your title, which is your job title. Let's turn that into some data that we can actually understand. So get text is a function that will pull out the text, and href will pull out the hyperlink. Let's run it again. And as you can see, there's your text, which is your job title, and there's your hyperlink. It's not qualified, so we're going to have to add the domain name, which is http://au.indeed.com. And we'll concatenate that with, I'll make sure that this tag is of the right data type, which is a string. Run it again, F-Shift-10. And there's your hyperlink. Let's click on that. And it takes you to the job site, or the link to apply for that job. The next thing to do would be to get all the A tags of that class from that page. And to do that, you can actually use the find all command in soup. That's a function. And what that will do is just, if there's more than one A tag of that class, we'll turn that not into a string, but into a Python list. So to prove it's a list, we can actually print my tag, length of my tags. We'll exit the program here just so it doesn't crash, run it. And there you go. There's 15 items in that list. So the next thing you want to do is loop through a list and actually print out all the items. For I in range length of my tags. So we know there's 15 items, so we'll loop 15 times through this loop. And what we'll do then is print my tags, and we'll refer to that index. Href tags I, and that should work. That should bring us back a list of 15 items. There you go. So all of a sudden we've got team member, disability support worker, blah, blah, blah. For some reason, this link is very long, but it doesn't matter. It still works. And we've got links for the other ones. Now, so we've got that. Now, the next thing would be to eliminate any jobs we don't want, anything we are not interested in. So I know for me personally, this employee is out. Retail, I don't want to have anything to do with retail. I've created a list of all the buzzwords I'm not interested in. So say anything to do with sale or receptionist, retail, cold, sales. It's a different word to sale. All these job titles will get dropped off. Anything that contains any of those words gets dropped off. To speed things up, I'll just explain. I've actually created a final list where I'll be adding all my jobs that I'm actually interested in. In my loop, where I'm looping and printing out values for these different items, I actually created a temp list that I'll sift through, discarding any items that I'm not interested in. To create this temp list, I'm simply appending to it exactly what I've printed out before, and if I run it, you'll see that I'll end up with a list of all the jobs and the titles and the hyperlinks, one item at a time within a list. To sift out the results that I don't want in my final list, I've set up a loop, and what it does, it basically goes through every item in my temp list, which is every row of these, and it grabs the first item from within that list, because it's a list within a list, which is the job title, splits it into individual words. So, for example, this medical records admin officer, there'll be 4 words. In fact, there'll be 5, because the dash will get included as well. The keep flag I'll talk about in a second, but then with my split list, I look up the length of that split list, I loop through it that many times, and I grab every single item within that split list, I convert it to an uppercase, and then I look to see if it exists in my no jobs list. If it does, meaning I don't want that job, I set a flag to false. The keep flag becomes false, and this thing just loops through every single word. When it finishes, it actually checks if the keep flag is set to true, which I've already set it before my loop. If it is, I add it or append it to my final list of results. the keep true flag gets set to true before I actually start interpreting or going through my split title to check if any of these words that I don't want exist. Now, let's run it. I've actually set up a little loop here to print out the final results and the length of my final list. Because remember, our temp list, original temp list, was 15 items long. Now let's see what we'll get this time around. Boom, down to 7. And travel, let's say officer. I'm not interested in officer. So just to prove to you that it works, I'll add officer to my no list. Officer, I run it again, and this item here should drop off. There you go. There must have been 3 officers in that final list. So I guess the last thing to do would be just to loop through more than one page, and for that I'll just basically set up a loop for, let's call it Z, in range 0 to say 100, stepping by 20, because remember, originally that variable here, that part of the URL was actually being incremented by 20. We'll change this into an F string, F, and this bit here where it's start, we'll change it to Z. So every time it loops, it's basically going to go from 0, increment by 20 until it reaches 100, which basically means it's going to loop through this 5 times. Because it's a loop, it's going to get indented. I'll indent all of this, so all of that is part of that loop, and at the very end, it will just print out our final list. Let's run it and see what happens. There you go, our final results. We've got 26 final rows. Everything's been excluded. So let's say I want this job. Off it goes. Application page. I want this job. I want this job. I want to apply for this job. And this one as well. As you can see, it just takes me straight to all the links for jobs that I'm sort of interested in. Lego, I might actually drop that off as well because I'm not really, well, anyway. Thanks for watching, guys, and it's time for me to apply for some jobs. Assistant store manager.